It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here, and there is a lot to talk about, including the Build Conference and our special plans. In fact, a lot of conferences coming up from Microsoft. We've got updates for Windows Phone, Windows 10. There's a whole lot of information ahead. Windows Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 451, recorded Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016, Trajecting Up. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Carbonite. Keep your business safe this year. Protect files on your computer or server with automatic cloud backup from Carbonite. Try it for free without a credit card at Carbonite.com today. But make sure to use the offer code WINDOWS to get 2 free bonus months if you decide to buy. And by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost, automated investment service that is the most sophisticated way for you to invest your money, whether you've got millions or you're just starting out. Visit wealthfront.com/windows to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/windows. And by Squarespace. Make your business and online store stand out with the only platform that lets you create, manage, and brand your store in a beautiful way. Enter the offer code WINDOWS to get 10% off Squarespace. You should. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft, and of course, no better people to do it than Paul Thurrott.
And no worse.
And no worse. Yeah, well, you know. And no better and no worse than Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com and Mary Jo Foley from AllAboutMicrosoft.com, two of the most beloved Windows watchers in the world. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Leo.
Hello. I'm so glad Stoic in the chat room has upgraded to Epicurious, so that's good.
What does that mean?
I don't know. he's gone. I think he's going to just go through all of the Greek schools, and
I see.
Yeah. Now he's an Epicurus. Microsoft earnings were big this week. Okay, the bad news: they didn't sell as many Surfaces as Apple sells iPads. The good news, that's bad news too. The Windows Phone sales plummeted. The good news: they made a lot of money.
They made a lot of money.
That's the good news. Not so bad.
That was good. Yep. They beat what Wall Street was projecting for earnings.
Always good to beat the street. That means stock price goes up, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was funny to kind of be listening in on the earnings call last week. Everybody, all of us who are the Microsoft watchers, everyone's like, okay, so Wall Street's going to ask them about Surface and about phone, right? And what they're doing with Windows 10. No. Nope. You know what Wall Street cares about?
All HoloLens.
Cloud.
Yeah, but cloud was a huge success, right?
It was.
So it's reasonable to talk about.
Don't you sort of think that sometimes, though, this is like tail wagging dog, right? Like analysts and press look at a company that is about to release their earnings and they generate a story. Like, this is the story. Yep. We're going to be looking at, what to look for, how Microsoft's, transition to the cloud is going.
But that's how press works in general, right?
Well, I know, but in other words, when you see something that matches what your expectations, that's what you write about. But there's all this other stuff going on.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good pitfall. Yeah.
True. But you know what's funny? And I keep saying it because I think a lot of people don't realize it, but the way Microsoft's broken up now into those 3 buckets of things, the biggest bucket from a revenue standpoint is still Windows. Right.
Yeah.
And it's still devices.
But it's Windows because they added in all that other stuff.
Exactly. But the smallest bucket is Windows and devices when you look at profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is why Wall Street is so bent on looking at what's happening in commercial cloud, what's happening in Office apps. That's why, because that's the growth part of the company.
Yes, right, and I find the cloud stuff to be interesting on a number of levels, but by cloud stuff, I think primarily we're talking about Windows. I'm sorry, Office 365, and then what becomes or Azure, and you can see the natural transition from enterprises and businesses from on-prem servers over to this stuff, and so I think we feel like this is sort of a consistent thing that's going to grow over time. It's good. But I still, from my own perspective, I mean, just as an individual and someone who cares about personal technology, I look at these devices, I look at Xbox, I look at the software that runs on PCs and on mobile devices, and to me, like present day, this stuff is still very, very important, although I do feel like the cloud is the future. And it's interesting to see how these things do in comparison with previous quarters and in comparison, obviously, with the competition.
Right. Us in the press, where everybody's first thing to jump at was, okay, they're selling like no Lumias, right? Like everybody really focuses in on that, right? Like we kind of knew that though. I mean,
but it was down. What was down 57% from this last year?
And you know what was funny? If you listen to the earnings call, I think it was Amy Hood, the CFO, who said, "You know what? We actually didn't do as bad in phones as we thought we were going to do."
Wow.
I mean, we like,
wow.
Oh, guys, listen, there's always next quarter. Don't sell yourself short. You can do this.
Well, I mean, and it isn't a surprise because they already wrote off the acquisition of Nokia as a loss, right? I mean, a total
Well, but they
loss.
also made that big strategy change last year too, right? And I think the hurtful thing that, for fans of the platform is that you can sort of say they're going to do this, but when you say that, it sounds like you're just making something up. And then as it sort of happens, I think it's a little hard sometimes to understand, if they just put this thing on Verizon, everything would have been fine. And it's like, it doesn't really work that way. But, Mary Jo and I were talking separately, I think probably on Skype or something. And I think we have this theory that, you're seeing the true cost of a phone now with these new Lumias, right? That Microsoft kind of sells these things at a very expensive price in a very limited way, but that's how they don't lose money on it, And so as the sales kind of nosedive, at least they're protecting themselves from, they sold tens and tens of millions of units all at a loss, which would in many ways be more detrimental, even more detrimental.
I mean, they did say on the call last week, just so everybody is aware, this is what they think. They think next quarter for phones is going to be even worse in terms of numbers.
Yeah, and it should be, right? Non-holiday quarter, continued current strategy.
Yep.
There's no way it gets better.
But they also aren't going to stop.
Nope. They say they are not going to stop.
So is it a loss? Do they lose money on phone? No, they just don't.
Yeah, they do actually. Yes, but I think the point of it isn't to be a loss leader. In other words, we can no longer claim that Windows Phone is the entry point for all these Microsoft services anymore, right? Those Microsoft services are available everywhere. I think when you look at what they announced last July, the key takeaway is that they're kind of treading water here until the next big thing hits, and that for a variety of reasons they don't want to abandon the phone form factor and/or the ARM code base, which I think is very important. And so, we're going to see tablets based on Windows 10 Mobile hit in this quarter, and who knows, other device. Someone on Twitter said, I don't see it right now, but someone said, what about an Amazon Echo type device running Windows 10 Mobile? That's something I've never really thought about, and I'm not really sure of the market viability of it. But there's no reason why that little ARM platform couldn't go in other devices and make the universal Windows platform make more sense as well.
Okay. It's not a business, though.
It's not not in traditional.
So why? But it's strategically important. Is that
right? They can't totally. I don't think they can say, you know what, we're just getting out of phones.
Yeah, I don't see it
because I feel like they have to keep a hand in there. At least do what Google's doing with Nexus devices. Do something, right, to have some presence for the fans, and also just so you kind of keep up with what's going on in the phone space. If you're Microsoft, if you just say all we're going to do is support iOS and Android, you'll still be relevant in mobile, but you'll be relevant in a very different way.
You make a good point because Google probably doesn't sell a whole lot of Nexus phones. They may have sold more Windows Phone than Google sells Nexus phones. Nobody says to Google, why are you in the Nexus phone business?
Yeah, they absolutely lost money on Nexus. There's no doubt about that in the quarter. Yeah. And they sold those things at a reasonable cost, by the way, kind of interestingly, unlike Microsoft, with Lumia. So I think this is a tough business, unless you're Apple or Samsung, I guess. But, things change and markets shift and saturation occurs and who knows what happens down the road. I think just keeping a toe in this market makes sense. And I also think it kind of completes a giant grid of product types where Windows 10 runs. And I think that's important to be able to say to developers is in a very real sense. If you want to create a single app that can run across all these different device types, I think it's nice to have a phone option in there.
And as we've been hearing this week especially, there's a lot of rumors right now that there are OEMs building Windows phones that are going to be announced over the next few weeks. So there are other companies
about Sony, big ones too, like Sony and HP potentially.
Alcatel,
releasing.
right? Alcatel was a rumor. Acer. So obviously there are companies who think there is a reason to stay in the Windows mobile space, and they're building devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to make sense.
I know.
So
actually,
I'm curious to hear the rationale for this.
That's kind of an interesting question.
Yeah.
Who are these people and what's wrong with them?
Exactly. I know.
But it is a differentiator. I mean, the problem really, to be really brutally frank, nobody's making money in the smartphone business except Apple. Samsung is losing their shirt in it, and they're like the #2 company. So I don't know if they're losing their shirt still. I think they made money last quarter, but not. I mean, it's not. It's very. And HTC practically has gone under. BlackBerry's gone under. Apple has so dominated this industry that nobody is selling a lot of phones except Apple. Android, you always talk about Android in aggregate, but it's a lot of different manufacturers.
Well, I mean, Samsung obviously is
they sell a lot of phones. Maybe
the one exception, but a lot of their phones are not flagships, and they don't make as much money on phones as Apple does. Apple has found some kind of secret sauce here that is not something other companies can duplicate.
Sales were up for Samsung phones, but the revenue was down.
Yeah,
so that's not exactly what you want to read either. In the last quarter, they reported.
The one kind of surprising thing to me on Microsoft earnings is in past calls we hear a lot about how great enterprise software is doing for them. So like SQL Server, Windows Server, Visual Studio, and we didn't really hear about that this time. They said those products grew 10%, but they didn't really talk them up as much as the past. In fact, I thought it was interesting that Nadella on the earnings call talked up Enterprise Mobility Suite several times, which is the suite of products for managing your devices, for mobile devices from all different vendors and the data on the devices. He talked about that a lot. I think they see that as like one of the new kind of growth spots for the cloud. So it's always kind of interesting to keep your ear out for what is the CEO talking up, because there's probably some news coming in that space. But yeah, nothing about SQL Server, which you hear about. I mean, maybe it's because we're between cycles on the product and we're waiting for the next version, but we didn't hear a lot about that. We heard a little bit about Office 365 commercial and consumer. Right?
Yeah, and mobile too, in a way, right? I mean, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yep.
340 million people are using Office apps on iOS and Android.
Yeah, so that's a huge success.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yep.
But, sort of in tandem to what Mary Jo was saying earlier about, if Microsoft just made apps for iOS and Android, and they would sort of be a big deal, but not, be the big thing they would be with their own platform. That type of thing can be fleeting, right? If you look at the top mobile apps over time, you'll see things that have come and gone, like Angry Birds, where it was huge for a little while, Obviously, the key to Microsoft's success has been, Mary Jo might know the phrase they use, but it's basically the ongoing annuity-based payments that they get from customers of all kinds of subscription, essentially, right?
Right.
And Office apps as standalone things aren't the big deal, but Office apps as something that someone who's paying for Office 365, that's a big deal. And I think, and is the point of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So not to worry too much, in other words.
Well, no, I mean, we're obviously in a transition with Microsoft, right? And their client and server side stuff is still very important. These are still very big businesses: Windows, Office, the traditional stuff. But they have this new stuff, Office 365 to a lesser degree. Azure certainly is something that we're still kind of, at least I am, trying to understand because it gets so big and complicated. But you look at these things and you sort of think, well, where's the money coming from? Is it coming mostly from old stuff? Is it coming from new stuff? Microsoft has a way of being very non-transparent with its earnings statements now because of the way they lump these businesses together. You really don't know where things are coming from. Microsoft will say something like the Surface business year over year grew, whatever the figure was, 140% or something.
Right.
But you don't know what the number was to begin with, so you don't really know if that's any good or they make it hard to understand where things really are. You have to go by, like Mary Jo said, the things they say about certain products, the sort of contorted way they say things. They talk, Xbox, for example, they're not going to provide Xbox One sales figures, and so they use really strange metrics to try to translate this into some kind of success. The number of hours that people spent on Xbox Live, or the number of active Xbox Live users, which of course is helped by the fact that Xbox Live is on Windows 10 now, right? And so you have a console base that only has maybe 18 million people on Xbox One, and then whatever number is still on Xbox 360. But there are 200 million people on Windows 10 all of a sudden, and so of course those numbers go up. But does that translate to real, palpable success, revenue success, profit success? There's no way to know.
Yeah. What's interesting? Why I'm very curious. Why do they break out the number of handsets sold, the Windows Phone handsets, and then they don't break out Surface? Like we don't know how many Surfaces Microsoft sold. We can kind of estimate based on the price, but a lot of Surfaces get, sometimes there are discounts and promotional programs and reseller programs, and so we don't really know
volume programs and
right, how much do people pay for them, so we can't get a true count of how many they sold.
Right.
But they give you very, very detailed information about which handsets they sold and how many. I'm curious.
Why do they even bother doing that with the handsets? Yeah. I mean, no one else does that.
I know, right? For some reason, they tell us that number. I mean, Nokia always did. I can't imagine there's the notion of tradition when it comes to financial reports. But they don't do it for Surface. They don't do it for Xbox anymore. They used to do it for Xbox from time to time. And they did in the very beginning do it for Xbox One. And then it started looking bad, so they stopped doing it. I found it very interesting on whatever day this week, Monday or Tuesday, when Google, it must have been Tuesday, that when they announced their earnings, maybe it was Monday, it doesn't matter. Google, a company no one would describe as particularly transparent, has also completely changed their corporate structure. They renamed the holding company and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, their earnings are really transparent. They're like, look, Google made all this money and all this other stuff was like throwing money in a toilet. It was hilarious. And it's really interesting to find that Google, a company I never would have thought as transparent, right? And when it comes to financial reporting, all of a sudden, and this did just change, is to the tune where they actually reverted their previous earnings back to 2013 to the new style, so you could see, how things would have been, if they had been doing this all along. I wish Microsoft would do this. I really do.
I think we're going to see one day one earnings, like one big bucket, and we're not going to have even our 3 buckets.
I know. Yeah, they won't break down anything.
Go, earnings.
You can't handle the truth.
Well, they're as a publicly traded company, they are. I don't know what the requirements are. Obviously, they have to reveal some things.
No, it's true.
I think they're adhering to the minimum letter of the law.
Well, that's what, if it were my business, that's what I would do. Tell them as little as possible. Because all it happens is you get this kind of misunderstanding and mistreatment that you just described.
But don't you find it? I mean, so for example, like Apple is an obvious example. They sold, the exact number of iPhones, the exact number of iPads.
Yeah, but there's a lot of. We don't know how many watches they sold.
No, that's what I mean. But then you get to a product where it's like, it's not doing so good.
Right. But you got to be careful about that. So if not reporting a number is interpreted as didn't do well, then you just need to not report any damn numbers. Because right? Because otherwise you're saying, this is bad.
But that is in fact the type of information that a shareholder or potential shareholder would need, and I think should demand.
I would think.
I don't understand why it's legal to do that. I think that's my point. It's strange to me that you can be selective, and I would say even like this again with the Apple example, within the context of their products, you don't know which ones of their models are doing better than the other. It would be very helpful to know, hey, by the way, 90% of all the iPods or iPads sold are the small ones, not the big ones or something. It's interesting that they can do that kind of thing.
Byron Omo in our chat room says that the only requirement is that they report GAAP numbers, generally accepted accounting practice numbers. In other words, a simple balance sheet each quarter. So no company does just that, or I don't know. I mean, most companies do more, and probably because the shareholders demand it. And what I'm becoming much more aware of, thanks to Twitter and Yahoo, and so some of these battles that are going on, is that the shareholders really, influence this considerably, because they can start a proxy fight. They can put people on the board. They can do all sorts of damage to your company. So you have to sit up and listen. You can't blow them off. Even a company as big and established as Microsoft has to pay attention.
Right.
It's why Twitter can't just do whatever it wants right now. They're making money. It's why Apple's stock went down when they reported the most successful quarter in the history of the U.S. finance sector.
Sure.
But the stock went down because their growth went down.
Yep.
Companies, I think they only do what they really are kind of compelled to do by the
of course,
the owners. And somebody in the chat room said, "Don't forget, shareholders are owners." That's true too. That's true too. They bought in. If the owners demand it, they have to do it, or they're strongly incented to do it. I don't understand this stuff.
It's like I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on TV.
Yeah.
I don't understand the financial stuff, obviously. Why would I? But looking at it logically, their ability to cherry pick, and really the contortion of the cherry picking, it's crazy. We have an exact number of Office 365 users now over here, and over here we have grown engagement by 28%.
Yeah.
It's like these two things are not comparable. Right. But okay.
Hey, let's move on.
Yes.
Let's not belabor this. So good news for the cloud. Windows 10 obviously doing very well.
Yep.
Surface doing well for Surface.
Yep.
Yeah.
Xbox had a good holiday.
I know. Well, that's an exact quote, by the way. Just like it was a good holiday.
It was a good holiday.
Holidays are good, right?
Had some eggnog, saw family.
A lot of those guys were able to, hang around the tree.
A little bit, undersold the PlayStation 4 by 100%. But other than that, so PlayStation 4 2-1. I don't understand because I love the Xbox One, but I
don't understand that one either. I'll never get that.
Yeah.
I can I love Windows Phone, but I understand why people are picking the competition. I get that.
Right.
But the Xbox One, I have a hard time with it. I really don't understand it. But there it is.
There it is.
It's that anecdotal thing. We all suffer from this. And in this case, what I would say is, I don't know anyone who uses a PS4.
Right.
But that doesn't mean anything.
All my buddies, But hardcore console gamers prefer Sony. I mean, I think that's
really
now true. Well, they prefer it with their dollar.
So they have little doll hands for that controller? How does that work? I don't understand.
This is the trash talk segment of the show with Mary Jo, just so you understand.
Oh, here they go, Xbox, yeah.
They have little Tyrannosaurus Rex fingers that they can use on the controllers.
I mean, a lot of it with Xbox was they went the wrong way at the beginning, right? They tried to make Xbox more of an entertainment thing, but now they're trying to bring it back, right?
I think it was too expensive, right? Wasn't that really?
And yes. No, by the way, they screwed up. There's no doubt about it. But that first year,
they were marred by the whole leave it on all the time. Are they listening to you? All that stuff at the beginning. Remember that? Back when Xbox One launched.
Comes down
The
to
whole
I
thing
think
with it's not going to work on a submarine really killed them.
Oh, that was so dumb. Oh, it was so dumb.
Yeah.
No, but since then, obviously they released the connectless version. They reduced the price came down from 500 to 350. This past holiday, you could have gotten one as cheap as the higher 200s, and they did, I think, to great success. Had lots of bundles where you got free games or another controller, additional storage, or whatever it was. I thought, I mean, to me, and PlayStation did what? What did they do? Nothing. It's the same thing. It's just nothing has changed over there. I don't get it. Like, I don't get why that's a big deal. I'll never understand it. I hate the world. That's what I'm saying. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, we don't. Yeah, I don't either because I bought an Xbox One, and not because I'm, some big Microsoft fan, but I actually liked the expensive stuff like the Kinect. I liked the home entertainment aspect of it. I watch all my TV through it. Although that's a little bit of a pain with a monthly update. I often turn on the TV. It feels like I often turn on the TV and have to wait for a large download.
There's nothing better. You just want to watch the game,
I literally can't watch my TV until it's done. But I don't know. Anyway, we'll never understand that. You and me, Paul. Never understand it. Office 365 doing great, right? That's the subscription version of Office.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the annuity you were talking about.
And across the board for consumers, for the commercial segment, and then and like we said, great success on mobile.
20.6 million consumer subscribers.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But as you point out, the revenue's going down. That's because you're not buying an $800 box.
Yeah. No one ever really was. But I think the way the Office model used to work on consumer was they got a per PC
that's why.
bump, when people.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
And they can't really do that anymore, right? And so when you think about the way you get Office for free now with a PC, what you get is a year of Office 365 personal. And so instead of getting a little bit of money every time someone buys a PC, you're giving someone something free. And you're hoping.
That 20 million number is people using free subscriptions. So it's a big number, low revenue.
Not necessarily. How many are paid.
We don't know.
We don't know how many of those.
Yeah. Remember that. By the way, that is obviously a fair with Office 365, especially on the consumer side. Yeah. But that, in other words, the free subscription goes and then they forget all about it and they say forget that. But we're years into this. I mean, people are paying for it. We don't know how many people or what people, but I don't think we're at the point anymore where we can say that's all free stuff. I mean, people are definitely paying for it.
You guys are paying for it. You're paying, all right.
Sure.
Commercial revenue, though, very good. Of course, Office is huge. I love the fact that the Office on mobile is 340 million users. That's nice.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Now, that could be one. Well, it says users though, doesn't it? It was users, right?
Not app monthly active users or whatever.
Well, in other words, is it
somebody downloaded it?
Yeah, like his one user for my download of Word, one user for my download of Excel. I'm actually not positive how that works, but yeah, it's a big number. However you,
third of a billion. All right, let's take a break. Unless there's anything else you want to say about the numbers.
No, I think it was a surprisingly good quarter for them, given it wasn't as good for Amazon. I think a lot of people made that comparison.
I don't think you can compare Amazon and Microsoft.
I know. I don't really either. I mean, you can compare the commercial cloud part, right?
Oh, AWS compared. Yeah, they beat AWS, didn't they?
Yeah. I don't know if they beat them because they don't measure their numbers the same way.
Oh, okay. So you can't tell.
So no. By the way, if they did beat them, they'd measure them the same way.
Yeah, they would.
I can assure you of that.
Well, AWS is a behemoth.
Yeah.
And Microsoft's playing catch up there. Amazon was the first to the table with that. But, they're growing. That's good. Okay. Our show today brought to you by Carbonite Online Backup. When you talk computers, you talk data, you talk about hard drives, that you're living on the thin edge of disaster at all times. What? No, Leo, yes. I really want to hammer that home. I get calls all the time from people who say, all this stuff was on the hard drive, the computer crashed, the hard drive died, the fire, the flood, whatever. Is there any way to get it back? There might be. There's a little company down the road a piece that specializes in recovering damaged hard drives. They even have a hard drive that was on like a sunken ship. It's all rotted and rusty, and they got the data off of that. Costs like $5,000. How about this? How about you back it up? Then you don't have to. You don't have to worry. I had a visitor come in the studio once. He said, I love Carbonite. I was sailing to Catalina Island in L.A. My laptop fell overboard. Now, I lost the laptop, sure, but my data did not go away because it was all up on the Carbonite cloud. That's what I'm talking about. Automatic, continuous, off-site backup. Your business needs it. Your home needs it. And that's probably why 1.5 million people use Carbonite. You could try it right now for free, no credit card needed. When you go to Carbonite.com, do use the offer code WINDOWS. That way they'll know you heard about it on this show, and that helps us. Carbonite, Carbonite.com. Use the offer code WINDOWS. Encrypted, easy to use. You pay once a year. You can just set it and forget it, and I like that on backup. It's always backing up whenever you're online. On the Windows side, it does versioning, which is really handy, especially, by the way, if you get bit by like a CryptoLocker virus. Oh, man. People love it that they have Carbonite because they can get their stuff back without paying a ransom to the hackers. Carbonite.com. From spreadsheets and emails to digital photos and music, they back it all up. And they do it right. Carbonite. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We're talking Windows, and you're coming to town. I'm excited. April Fool's Day. You want to do the show from here?
Yeah.
Or should we come down and do the show from there?
It'd be awesome if you guys could come down, but
we could figure that out. It would have to be we'd have to find a venue.
Well, I bet we could do it at the show. Maybe we could talk to Microsoft.
Should you talk? Would you like to talk to Microsoft if they could have a venue where we could have an audience?
Yep. If only there were a place in Moscone where you could have an audience, people sitting, I don't know, in a crowd, maybe with chairs, and there could be like
there's actually
like
a great
stage,
a theater there. We've done shows from this little theater over there. That's nice. But anyway, if you could arrange something, I will bring a crew and cameras and
man.
And
we would
I would love to
really
do that.
much bigger audience too, because we'd have all the people from Build who can't make it up to Petaluma necessarily.
Deal.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure though that Friday is okay. Because it's kind of the only date that's going to make sense.
Yeah, it's okay with me.
For us.
I don't know what our Twit record schedule is on Friday. But I'm sure we could carve a chunk out of the afternoon. Let me look at it real quickly.
I'm so excited to finally be flying this year.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Ooh, here comes travel.
Hooray.
We could do it. We could probably do it. Maybe move this week in Enterprise Tech, or see. Let me ask Father Robert if he's pre-recording, because that's at 1:30 in the afternoon. That's a perfect time when we could wrap up by 4.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wouldn't that be about right? Early afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, right after This Week in Law, we'll see if we can figure that out.
Yes, that'd be fantastic.
Yes. Good. Well, let's continue to confer, and we'll let you know. But it's April 1st. How long is Build?
3 days.
12. Oh, yes, day.
18 feet. No, is it the last 600 cubits? Lord, what's a cubit?
It's we measure it in parsecs. Is that distance or time?
Right, that's the last day of Build, is April 1st. Usually they end the show in the early afternoon.
This is perfect, like right at the end of the show, and you can grab everybody. We can smile at Joe Belfiore's hairdo. It'll be great.
It's not going to be there, I don't think. He's off on his world tour.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Blonde Ambition Tour 2016.
Joe Belfiore, the Blonde Ambition Tour. Why didn't we think of that last week?
We should have.
Oh, my goodness.
It's always like that, isn't it? You just think of those things later.
Would have been a good show title.
Yeah.
Blonde Ambition. Not too late, I'm saying. Just saying. Just saying. So that was the one that the tickets sold out in 35 seconds?
Yes, but I've been starting to hear from people today who were on the wait list who are getting in.
Yeah, so I have two, and that's interesting, isn't it? Now, I obviously some people I think they did something different with the wait list this year. I think that's part of the deal. But obviously what happened was there were some people that just ultimately couldn't do it. And maybe then they're releasing tickets to others to, you know, fill that in. So, yeah. But, yeah, literally today I've heard from people. Yeah.
Me too. Yep.
Are there scalpers?
That'd be so awesome.
I know. I don't think there are, but
Bill
it's kind of
tickets.
surprising. Yeah. Yeah. Give people a business
Got to
idea.
be 17 feet back from the door.
Tickets? You got tickets? I got tickets. Tickets here.
I have tickets, but I want better tickets. Do you have tickets that are up front?
Front row seat.
Well, one year when we did the Bill Blogger Bash, people were trading tickets and trying to sell tickets.
Wow.
And yeah, get out of here.
So Build is a developers conference, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Not a sporting event.
It combines, it's also hardware, right? It combines kind of WinHack with, or no? They don't do WinHack anymore.
It's a developer show, but I mean, obviously, new developer stuff is often tied to new hardware.
Yeah,
Right.
Especially now.
I would bet, there'll be things like HoloLens developer sessions, I would think, at Build this year.
Sure.
It'd be fun if we could take the whole audience on a HoloLens tour. Let's do that. And Ignite's coming up, too. They've got the Ignite conference.
Right.
When's
They
that?
opened registration for that one. That hasn't sold out yet, but it's not until September 26th to 30th in Atlanta.
And that's web
And I think
focused.
the audience for that is much bigger than Build, isn't it?
It is. It's a much bigger show. It's IT pros.
IT pros,
They took all their kind of individual shows like the SharePoint conference and the Visio conference and blah, 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 and mushed them all together. Microsoft Management.
You just gave me an idea when you said mush them all together. Maybe at Build we could do a joint Windows Weekly This Week in Enterprise Tech, because there's a lot of enterprise stuff. And Mary Jo will be so happy.
You know, we're not actually big fans of Father Robert there. I don't know.
Oh. Oh.
We're not on.
Maybe we
Are
could
you
get, maybe we
Episcopalian?
could
Is
get
that?
Campbell and
Right.
Richard Campbell and Carl
No, I
Franklin.
think that would be great, actually.
Yeah, maybe we
I
should
think
do
that'd be
that.
great.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll talk to the powers that be. I guess I'm the powers that be, but I'll talk to myself.
Yeah, which
I
just
often
keep
do.
busy.
Yeah,
Leo,
that'd be
what do you
good.
think? Well, I don't know, Leo. What do you think? Well,
Yeah,
it
bring
seems
it,
like
get
good idea,
rent
Leo.
a Brady bus, or what do you call it, a Partridge Family bus, and bring them all down.
That'd be kind of fun.
You know, someone could sing songs
middle
on
of
the
the
bus,
bus.
and the bus would be going up and down.
Yeah,
The
maybe we
priest
could
on the
even-
bus goes up and down.
It'd be good. If you guys come down, maybe we could then do our meetup after the end of Windows
Yeah.
Week.
Deal.
Yep.
Deal.
Wow, it's like the plan is coming together.
Yeah, I love it when the plan comes.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Yes,
yeah.
I do. So, okay, Ignite is IT, Build is developers. What's Envision?
Envisioners.
Envisioners, right. It used to be Convergence, which was, it used to be a show for people who cared about CRM and ERP, but now it's a much broader thing. It's more like for business developer.
If you can
business
spell
development
CRM
managers,
and ERP, you belong at Envision.
business leaders, decision makers. It's right after Build. It's April 4th to 6th in New Orleans. So I'm going to be going from Build straight to New Orleans for that.
I am hoping not to do that.
Yes. It would be nice not to have to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind flying over New Orleans on the way
Right.
home.
No. And you can register for that one now. That registration's open too. So many shows. Our travel calendar is just filling right up.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, the last one on our list of shows, though, is one you don't have to travel for. It's a conference called the Microsoft TechNet Virtual Conference, March 1st to 3rd, and it means you can sit at home and watch this one. It's for IT pros, technetvc.com. And the reason I care about this one is I'm helping to MC day one on this.
Yeah. That's cool.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So I'm going to be emceeing it with Rick Klaus, who works in Azure at Microsoft. And so day one should be pretty fun. We'll just say that. March 1st.
Coolnish.
Yeah, but you can register for that one for free. It's 3 days. You can go to any or all of the sessions online as they're happening. And I know a little bit about the agenda, and I can tell you there's going to be some pretty unusual, not your typical kind of content in this thing.
I knew you guys had an agenda.
We do.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So, yeah. I'm excited about Build now. That'll be really cool if you guys can get.
We're going to have fun.
Yeah, that's... although I will miss going to the In-N-Out in Petaluma.
I'll bring you In-N-Out on the bus. The whole bus will smell like burgers.
Yeah,
but I'll bring
I'm okay with that. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, that's good. That's okay. That's fine with me. Yeah. That's good with me.
It's a complicated order, so I...
What do you order at In-N-Out?
No, I'm just kidding. There's only like 3 things you can order there.
Oh, so no. You don't know the secret menu. You should see my son order. True. I'll have a double animal style with the peppers cooked in the bottom, and I'd like the onions raw, and he has a whole thing.
Sure.
It's the secret menu.
Yeah, no, I've heard of the secret menu. I'm not an insider.
Oh, well. Do you not have In-N-Out? It's a California thing?
Yeah, I think it's just California.
Well, you have
West
White
Coast.
Castle, so, it's a fair trade.
No, we don't have White Castle either, although White Castle's terrible.
Wait a minute, you don't have White Castle?
We have one in New York.
Boston.
We used to have one in New Haven. You don't have a one?
No, we have Five Guys. We have
Five Guys burgers and fries. That's good.
That Shake Shack thing.
Shake Shack, yeah.
Five Guys is great. I mean, it's great.
You know what's really good, and it's I think Midwest only. I'm sorry, how do we get into this? Oh, I know why. Because I've been living on lettuce for 2 months.
Yes.
Steak and Shake is awesome.
So I've been also living on lettuce for the past 2 months, and I observed to my wife the other day at lunch that I wanted a bread sandwich wrapped in bread, served in a bread bowl.
Wouldn't that be good?
On a bread table.
Yum!
In a bread house that I would then eat my way out of.
You sound like Oprah on that Weight Watchers commercial. That is the worst commercial. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I eat bread every day. I love bread. It's like Oprah, get out of my head.
I know.
Stop it.
Well, bread that's the thing. At least bears are made of bread, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Bears.
Liquid bread.
Oh,
Low
beer.
carb.
Yeah, beer.
Damn you, Mary Jo Foley. You've done this to me.
Yeah, you can't have beer either if you're not having bread.
I bet you may make an exception. But.
Oh, I will. Yeah, I'm not an insane person.
And let's see. So we have Build, Ignite, Envision, and there's one more. TechNet.
Yeah, that was one.
Oh, you mentioned Tech. That's the one you're doing. Yeah.
That's one I'm doing.
Nice. We have completed the events segment of the show. In this case, events plus burgers.
And it was an event of its own kind.
It was an event. Now let's move on to Windows 10. We're number 3. Wait. Before we get there, let's talk about the big push.
Yeah. Yep. So Microsoft has started to do what they told us they would do back in October. They're going to make Windows 10 a recommended update for people who have automatic updates turned on Windows Update. It's starting now. It's going to be a staggered release. I got to say, I know what to say about this. I don't like that they're doing this. I think they should give customers choice. I think it's going to be something that people who are everyday normal consumers who have recommended updates turned on may suddenly find Windows 10 downloading. And yes, you do have the last resort to refuse it, but you have to know enough to refuse the EULA to make it stop.
Yep. Make it stop. That should be the title of this episode.
I know.
Make it stop.
So what do you think the real world impact of this is?
I don't know.
Really
I don't know anyone who's gotten it yet this way.
Right.
You can.
It's like saying, I don't know how anyone got malaria this way, but I know people have gotten it.
I know. People who are listening to this podcast know how to get around this, right? You know how to change settings, do things with group policy to stop this from happening. So it's not really about people who listen to Windows Weekly. It's about my mom who's going to get this on her PC.
Yeah.
And she's going to call me and she's going to flip out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be interested to see how this goes and how much screaming there is. You can roll back, obviously, but to people who
there's no guarantee there.
Right. I can't tell my mom, okay, roll back to Windows 7, right?
Look, I mean, one thing I tell people when it comes to upgrading to Windows 10 in particular is to do everything they can to make sure that they can get back. And that involves creating recovery disks, doing full system backups of the current system. And the problem I have with this kind of thing is that Windows 10 could install, and you never did any of that stuff. And then you go to do the rollback, and it doesn't work. And that happens. It happens. It's software. Things go wrong. And this is like you. I just kind of disagree with this kind of thing. I think there should be a no checkbox, and even if it's to the tune of, ask me again in 3 months or 6 months or some time out there. Not not just having to deal with the thing sitting there the whole time. Right. It's too bad.
I know. The idea, the reason they're doing this is they say that we think it's going to be safe for the vast majority, if not everyone, who's going to get it. We think a lot of people don't know how to get it who want to get it, which I never really, I don't know if I believe that. They say that.
Yep.
I've had people on Twitter this week criticizing me, saying you shouldn't act like this is a bad thing. This is a good thing. It's going to make people who should upgrade because it has better security and et cetera, et cetera. They won't know enough to go get it, so this is a good thing. I still don't like it. I don't know. I understand why they're doing it.
Yes. They announced that they were going to do this in late October. You and I were in Las Vegas at the time, and the reason I remember this is because I remember where I was when I talked to Terry Morrison, and he said to me at the time, I'm not saying this is incorrect. I mean, it's just amazing to me. The number one support request we get from people upgrading to Windows 10 is, how can you make this easier for us? I really want it. I just want to get it easier.
Automatic. This is
and I just, it's like, oh, God.
I don't want to have to push those buttons. That's just too much to ask.
Yeah. Could you just, right, exactly.
Just
Could you just slipstream it through so I don't have to okay everything?
All those okay.
I just have a hard time imagining that's the case.
And what? So we should revisit. Why do some people not want this, right? Because people are saying, there's no reason not to take Windows 10. Well, there are reasons. I know people who have peripherals that they say they don't believe are compatible. Some drivers have still not been updated. Games. If you, like me, have an older machine that is working just fine with Windows 7 and you intend to replace it with a new Windows 10 machine, why upset the apple cart before that?
That to me is the big one. This is the perfectly working airplane rule. Like, why would you jump out of this thing? You do that when it's crashing. You don't do that when it's flying fine,
Right.
It is an unnatural act to take something that works and then take a chance with it and make it not work potentially. Like, why would you screw with this? I mean, we're technology enthusiasts. I mean, the people listening to this have probably already done all their upgrades. They're very excited about Windows 10, I would imagine. This is for normal people. They turn a computer on. It's the same. It's been the same for 3 or 4 years or 5 years or whatever. And I think Windows 10 might be a little too much for some of these people.
Yeah.
That
it's not radically different from 7, but it's different enough that people won't know how to use parts of it.
People are very particular about things. They ask about very interesting things that I don't even think of anymore because they're so far in the past for me. Where is this thing that I'm used to seeing every day? When I turn on my computer, this comes on, and now it's not there anymore, and what's happening? You shouldn't expect a normal person to understand the intricate details of the technology and how things have evolved and blah, 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 whatever all this stuff is. I mean, I think it's a little tough because I think this does impact normal people. We've sort of discussed in the past some of the things they're starting to do towards small businesses where they're seeing these advertisements for Windows 10 now. Presumably, these people are a little more technical. Businesses certainly should be. And can handle it a little bit better than your mother or my mother or my brother or whoever you want to use as the example of a normal person. They don't listen to the show.
I think the people, exactly. The people listening to this show are going to complain to high heaven, and Steve Gibson's going to go, you see. Yep. And 99% of everybody else are just going to say, oh, thank you, Microsoft. I don't have to say okay.
That's so compliant.
Well, the reason
I want those users.
On mobile, we're used to this and expect it, in fact, kind of complain if we don't get it, right? Look at all the complaints that we didn't get the latest version of Windows Phone, right? And I know Microsoft's thinking, well, the new psychology is more like mobile, so we're just going to go ahead and do it that way, and people will, eventually get used to it. In fact, a day will come when we'll go, what, you mean you didn't get it automatically?
Yeah, but Windows is such a hairier, bigger uglier, whatever code base than any mobile platform. You know, it's a good ideal. It's a nice place to try to get to. I think they do it. I mean, I do think it's going to work, but man, is this thing not necessarily the greatest platform on which to do rapid release, you know?
Yeah.
I think this is, you know, we talked earlier about why are you keeping Windows 10 Mobile around? This might be part of it, by the way. I mean, there's a cleaner version of the Windows code base that doesn't have a lot of that legacy cruft in it. There's something to be said for that. It goes back to Windows RT, right? I mean, as terrible as those RT-based devices might have been, the idea was good. You know, let's get rid of all the cruft. You know, it's not a bad idea. But that's not the version of Windows that's popular, so.
You do get a free copy of Minecraft Windows 10 Beta Edition.
Yes, you do.
Sign up today.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can get Candy Crush Soda, Sega, whatever it's called.
Saga?
Whatever, I don't know.
I don't know either because I immediately
brightly
installed
colored
it.
things, and it looks pretty. I don't know.
You know, I like Windows 10, I guess. I like it. I like it well.
I like it a lot. I
do too.
like it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you will too.
Whether you want to or
you'll
not.
find out if you like it.
We'll let you know. Actually, we won't let you know. You're just going to get it. That's fine. Whatever. And while we did note that 140% increase in Windows adoption for Windows 10, that's 140% faster than Windows 7, which is pretty good.
Is that true? I think that's in businesses.
Oh, that's in businesses.
Yeah.
I think that's in businesses,
That's bad. I take it back.
I think so.
However, it's still not the #1 version of Windows.
No, and it will be a long time before that happens, thanks to Windows 7, the new Windows XP.
Yeah.
I don't remember when this happened, but years ago I had a conversation with Microsoft about the way that usage share, what some people call market share, unfortunately, is measured. And they told me at the time that net market share was more reliable for whatever reason than like stat counter or some of the other ways that people measure these things. And net market share this week came out with their desktop OS share, you know, their monthly report. And Windows 10 had jumped ahead. And the way they if you look at it by version, it's #2 after Windows 7. But I actually think it's #3 because I would combine Windows 8 and I'm looking for the right chart here. Windows 8.0 and Windows 8.1 to me is the same OS. And when you combine them, it's still just a hair behind that, I believe is how it works out. But significant jump, you know, and it passed Windows XP. And I think that's the big deal because obviously Windows XP is on the way out and Windows 10 is trajecting up. So as you would expect.
Trajecting up?
I know. I was hoping no one would call me on that.
No, I like it.
My abuse of the English language continues.
I'm trajecting up.
I'm trajecting.
That's a good word. You know what? I'm liking it.
I'm hockey sticking.
I'm trajectorating.
Trajectorating.
It's sort of like expectorating, but
trajectorating.
Anywho,
it's been a long
yeah. So I think it's I think it's going great. I don't know. Do we have anything in here? I don't see it. I guess we didn't include this, but there was a report from Spiceworks right today about business adoption of Windows 10, and there was some interesting data in there. And you know, Windows 10 adoption rate is about double that of Windows 8 at the same time period, 6 months in. If you the other thing they said, this is just overall Windows sales. It took Windows 7 1 year to hit 200 million users, active devices, whatever. It took Windows 8 15 months. It only took Windows 10 6 months. You know, and I know people are, you know, as soon as you say that, well, yeah, Windows 10 is free. You know, yeah, it is free, yeah, of course. But you know, a lot of those are upgrades. And upgrades have always been very difficult. I still think that's a very meaningful statistic, and I think that's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But they had, I think it was
two times number. I thought it would be much bigger than that. Did you?
Yep. Yes. But this is what I remember from when Windows 8 came out. I think Microsoft, knowing this thing was going to be such a dog, and the PC makers too, knowing it was such a dog, were really trying to push aggressively to get everyone to upgrade. You know, and with the hope that they would get the thing updated over time. And I did some shows with Dell back then, and they had really healthy numbers for Windows 8 adoption early on. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of stopped, you know? And I think what happened, you got to remember when they say, you know, 22 million it's actually business PCs are now running Windows 10, right? It's not, or it says 40% of businesses will adopt Windows 10 in a certain time frame. Adopting Windows 10 doesn't mean all of them, right? It means that some number of PCs in your business have gone to Windows 10. It's really easy to kind of fudge those numbers to make it look better than it is. It's interesting to me that, like you said, it's not bigger compared to Windows 8, but I think Windows 8 went up and then fell off a cliff. And I think Windows 10 just goes up, 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 up. I think that's going to be how that one works out. Or they're just making it up. I don't know.
Make up to break up. That's all we do.
What is that? Well, Leo, what is that?
It's a song.
What did you just... No, I know. What song is that?
Wake up to break up.
That's the name of the song. Is it... Who sings that?
I want to say Donny Hathaway, but I don't know.
Or the Temptations or something?
Let me... All right. You got me now. Wake up.
Yeah.
Well, it sounded familiar.
Break up. I played it when I was a young man as a DJ. It's the Stylistics. Yeah.
Stylistics. Jeez.
1972, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, let's spin a few discs here and go back to 1972. Remember that... who was president in 1972? Richard Nixon was president in 1972. The ties
That's
were
when
wide,
we were winning
the
in
hair
Vietnam.
was long, and we were winning in Vietnam. And the Stylistics was spinning on the turntable. Now that was music. This was music. We're going to take a little break a little break. And be back with more Paul and Mary Jo and all the tunes that made your life so great in 1972. I could feel my sideburns growing. Listen.
Wow.
It's got a long intro. DJs with... There we go. It's a man, by the way. They're all men. Just have very high voices. Does that bring back memories?
Yeah.
I liked your version better, frankly. But,
Whoa! I'm wearing bell bottoms. How'd that happen? And my perm is back.
Nice.
Staying alive. Our show today brought to you by the good folks at Wealthfront. You know, we are now in the 21st century, and a few things have changed since 1972, particularly how we invest. What were you buying stock in 1972, huh? Jerry curl and bell bottoms, I think. But nowadays, we're thinking about our futures. We're thinking about retirement, putting the kids through college, maybe buying that special house and saving up for the down payment. If you're putting money aside, I hope you're not just putting it in a bank, because you might as well just put it in a mattress. Wealthfront is a better way to invest. And here's the best part. You get state-of-the-art, the best way to invest in the stock market, because that's the place you got to put your money in, not just stock market, but just, investments. But not with those massive fees that investment advisors charge. And by the way, don't do it yourself. I see people make such kind of bonehead mistakes with their investments. Do it right. Normally, traditional investment advisors charge fees between 1% and 3% of what you've got under management every year. That means your return has to be 1% to 3% higher just to break even. That's no good. Not to mention all those hidden fees for transactions and changes. See, what Wealthfront does is they take the accumulated wisdom of some of the best people in the investment field, people like Charles D. Ellis, people like Burton Malkiel, that wrote the book, books that I read when I was trying to learn how this stuff works. And they've incorporated it into software that can do it so much faster and better than a human. Now, I'm not talking day trading. These are long-term investment strategies. But things like tax loss harvesting and rebalancing on a not just monthly or quarterly, but a daily, even hourly basis. That's so cool. And for all of this, you pay 1/4 of 1% a year. I mean, that's nothing. And there are never any additional charges for any of Wealthfront's services. In fact, I'm going to tell you how you can get it free in just a second. Wealthfront is now managing, I think this number is out of date, but the last I checked, $2.6 billion in client assets. And that's a 20 times growth, 20x growth over the last couple of years because it's so good. It works so well. Here's the deal. I want you to learn more. You know, as they always say, read carefully before investing. Go to wealthfront.com/windows. And you can sign up there. You can get a free personalized investment portfolio based on your risk and your time frame, you know, how much risk you like and your time frame. And that is a great start. You can see exactly how they would place your money to begin with. And then if you want to get started, after you read all the stuff, there's a $500 minimum. That's all. And that's a very low, I mean, to open an account, $500. And your first $15,000 will be free of charge forever. Not 1/4%. Free of charge forever. Join the many Twit fans, and I hear from them all the time, who have seen huge success with Wealthfront. They love the diversification. They love the ability to like own a share of Apple or Ford or Google and really kind of feel like you're participating. It's so great. And the best way to save money long term. Wealthfront.com/windows. Wealthfront.com/windows. Use that offer code. That way they'll know you heard about it on the show with Paul, Mary Jo, and the Stylistics. Wealthfront.com/windows. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley, Leo Laporte. We're talking Windows. And it's time to talk about, I have it right here, the mobile device. Hey, did I just get a firmware update? I think I did.
On Surface.
My Surface Book. Is that the one?
No.
They said it'd be in January. I want to point out, and I got January 27th. It's not the one?
Well, they said early in the year. But no, that fixed a bunch of problems.
Oh, good. Well, that's nice.
Didn't fix the big
power
problem. The bag, you know, the heated bag problem, as we think of it.
You mean the one on my front porch? Oh, no, that's a different one. Okay.
No, yes. No, don't step on that one.
So what did it fix?
A bunch of other things.
Right.
And it's really kind of hard to know because they never position it as this is what it fixed typically. I mean, sometimes it will say, you know, fixes problems with whatever. But really what you're seeing is a bunch of device driver updates across the board.
Right.
And some of the stuff they don't really talk about, too. I mean, there's some little fixes in there, you know, for things no one even knew happened. So,
right.
you know, whatever. But no, it does, I think, put a lot of the little issues to the side, but not the big one, not yet.
Okay. I just now installed it, so I can't tell. I'm feeling good about it.
I literally just last night was doing stuff out in the den with a bunch of different computers, and I did something on Surface Book. I closed it. I put it aside. I was working on another computer, and there was a lull in the sound on the TV, and what I heard next to me was,
yeah.
You know, and it's like, seriously.
You don't have to imitate it. I can play it for you myself right now.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
It does.
They'll get it.
You did say you're not giving up. And I like that.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, I really, in talking with them on and off the record, Microsoft, I mean, and talking with other, you know, people from other PC makers and talking with people who know a lot more about hardware than I do, you know, it's pretty clear that Microsoft, you know, we sort of criticize Microsoft when they don't live on the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
And then when they take that chance, we kind of criticize them for screwing it up, you know, whatever. And I think they made a good long-term bet on the Intel stuff, and I think it's going to work out for them. I just think we're kind of paying the price here for the early adopter things. So I think they get it. You know, obviously every day matters, but
yeah, it feels so warm right now.
Yeah. Well, at least it's the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fix it by summer. I'll be happy.
Yeah, just get it right. Exactly. March 21st is the date.
Southern Hemisphere. You're all right.
Yep.
Tablet sales, smartphone sales, the thought now, and everybody's talking about it, is we've reached peak device with phones. Like Apple's saying we're not growing anymore.
Yep.
We talked yesterday on Mac Break Weekly. Andy Ihnatko said in the future it's going to be kind of like car models. You know, the BMW's made an M3 for years. They upgrade it every year, but they don't make it the M4. It's the M3.
Actually, BMW did upgrade their numbering scheme a few years back, and it still infuriates me. But
you know what we're saying, though, right? Cars, cars get improved every year without having like this whole new thing.
If you are able to grow sales in an existing car model by some astronomical percentage, you were really screwing up before.
Right.
And so, yeah, obviously, I think we've reached a certain saturation. There are still growth markets to be had, obviously emerging markets, places like India. You know, China, I think, provided Apple and everyone else with a kind of a nice bump for a few years there. But I think we're just soaking in this stuff. I mean, this is so much of it.
Yeah.
Especially in my house, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is too much of it.
Good, because we just want it to settle down a little bit. And they're pretty good, you know. Mobile devices have gotten pretty good. What did IDC say? Because I didn't see that. I mean, I've been looking at the Apple graphs, and it really
So I mean, smartphone sales actually hit a record number. It was 1.4 billion for the year, but growth slowed pretty dramatically over the course of the year.
Right.
So, you know, that's interesting. Tablet sales, though, have obviously fell.
Right.
And by 10% overall. And by
that really
15%.
means iPad, because they, as we pointed out earlier, they're so dominant in this market that whatever as goes Apple, so goes the market.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Apple, I think, fell off worse than the market in this case. But I'm sure. I don't. You know, there really aren't any good tablets, right, other than iPads, and that I think pure tablets. I mean, like entertainment tablets or whatever you want to call that kind of thing. Obviously, Amazon makes really low-cost devices. Those things kind of took off this past quarter, but they're still kind of a tiny part of it. IDC includes detachables in this, and that was the one area of growth. It was an all-time high of 8.1 million units, and this is where the iPad Pro versus Surface thing came from. They said that they estimated that Apple sold just over 2 million iPad Pros, while Microsoft sold about 1.6 million Surface devices, the majority of which were Surface Pro. And that's because, you know, Surface 3 is, you know, kind of heading out, right? We presume they're going to make a Surface 4. And Surface Book was only available in very limited quantities in 1 or 2 markets. And that device will be sold much more broadly now in 2016. So hopefully they can kind of maintain that. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here that's of interest. Not really, I guess.
And we had talked before about the power cord recall, but you had some more, something more you wanted to say about that.
Yeah. So let's see,
there's news,
new data, right? Like we've got some data about the U.S. and Canada. They say for the voluntary power cord recall, which is for Surface Pro, Pro 2, and Pro 3. There are about 2.25 million eligible power cords, plus another 190,000 in Canada that could potentially be returned. And we didn't know until now that whether Microsoft had actually gotten complaints about this. And according to this government filing, it says Microsoft has received 56 reports of cords overheating and emitting flames. 5 reports of electrical shock to
Sounds
consumers.
like my hoverboard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Put it in a bag, just like the hoverboard.
Yeah. Is that what you do with the hoverboard, by the way? I'm very nervous. Our accountant, our CPA firm, one of the partners, gave her daughter a hoverboard for Christmas. It exploded last week.
Oh, wow.
Hurling lithium ion, hot molten chunks of lithium ion across the room and caused $30,000 in fire damage.
Yikes.
Oh.
And I'm thinking,
Merry Christmas.
Hey.
Yeah, yikes.
And you know, there wasn't anybody home, because we have a rule that you cannot charge your hoverboard. Michael's hoverboard cannot be charged if nobody's around, because if it gets hot, we want to know.
Probably used the wrong USB-C cable.
I don't know what to do now. So you keep it in a bag, like a flame-proof bag? Is that it? Is that
like
what
one of those things they deliver pizzas in?
Do you have a fire safe? I don't know.
God, that's
the hoverboard. That's not. We're not talking about.
See, we thought Surface Book was bad.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't spontaneously explode.
Yeah, no, exactly. HoloLens news. I mean, this is a Super Bowl week. Is the HoloLens going to be a part? Did you see the article at Wired about all the 360-degree cameras? They're using 70 cameras to cover the Super Bowl. That's almost twice as many as your last
Every
year.
time that thing flies out over a football field, I think of the probe droid from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. You know, I didn't know this, but there are NFL rules about how close to the field it can get.
Yeah.
But if you're far enough behind the players, you can go down like to field level, which is why you get those amazing shots.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, Mary Jo, you don't really care, but
I don't watch football, but
imagine getting right behind the the players as and then zooming up and over. I mean, it's almost like a drone. I mean, it's amazing the shot.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen this video that Microsoft put out about the HoloLens?
So will you watch the Super Bowl in the HoloLens with the
HoloLens? No. This is a future dream, not
concept
a
thing.
Plan. But yeah,
it's
an idea, and that's why I take umbrage with some of their on stage demonstrations, but this is very clearly labeled. Like, we're just throwing us some ideas, And you should throw the video on, Leo. That's down there at the bottom.
I totally think this is what is the excitement of augmented reality, right? Is that you're not leaving your room,
right,
but you're immersed and you get extra information. I like it. They started with a Niners fan. That's good.
And watch how somewhere in here they try to. Well, that's because it's in San Francisco.
Yeah, but they have Seahawks also. That's good. All right.
But Seahawks. Oh, that's true. Well, Seahawks are from Seattle.
But, so they're all putting on their HoloLenses, and they're all like waving at the TV. And the people.
No, there it is. See.
Yeah.
They're trying to show the little field of view there.
They did show it. They say it's kind of like you have a TV 20 feet away from you.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, but eventually it will look like this or something.
Yeah, and by the way, that's the thing. This is a future vision. It's okay if this exceeds the capabilities of the device today. They're just trying to say, well, this is something we're looking at.
I like this because each person could have their own view of the game. Some people don't want stats all over the game. Some people do.
I'd just be watching a movie. But yes, that was
superimposed on the game.
Yep.
I love it. They're playing. They're actually looking at a coffee table with the game on the coffee table.
Yeah, so it's like an instant replay, but you can see it from different angles.
Well, and that's what, by the way, that's what CBS is getting ready to do with this year's Super Bowl. They have cameras all the way around the stadium so that they can do that bullet time motion, just like they're showing in the HoloLens video, where you can rotate your perspective. And I know, Paul, because you watch the game, that you know that frequently there's a play and they're reviewing the videotape. The officials are reviewing the replay, and they can't get the angle they need to see if the knees touch the ground or the ball was held tightly, because they only have whatever cameras are available. Right. But now they'll actually be able to use a joystick and rotate around it and say,
it's pretty exciting. I always sort of thought the future of sports was going to be two things technologically. One was the ability of the viewer to trigger their own replays and use what you're describing, sort of multiple angles, whatever, and just do it on their own. And also the ability to have alternate soundtracks. I think the most annoying thing about watching football in particular, but I would say any sport, is the blah 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 blah. Everything's a story, and it's just awful. And I bet there are local podcast type guys who could do a much better job of talking over a sporting event and that people would enjoy. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens too. That has nothing to do with HoloLens. I just watch a lot of sports, but
yeah. No, I'm excited. I feel like this isn't that far off. I mean, it's not next year. It's probably not next few years.
Yeah, they're thinking down the road.
But I mean, come on, that's still 5 years is going to, especially as I get older, I notice it goes by pretty quick.
They presented this as kind of that's for sure. They presented this as a consumer thing, but honestly, I think this was really meant to inspire broadcasters, about what they can do to make these experiences happen.
I think broadcasters are getting the message, as I said. There really isn't any way to view this kind of 360 view of the Super Bowl. They're shooting it in 5K. There's no way to watch it in 5K either. But they're going to do all that this year, and I feel like that this is totally about preparing as consumers get better and better and more interesting ways to consume this content, preparing for that time. And it's smart, if you're CBS, to start thinking that way. You say, what are we going to do? Well, what's the Super Bowl 2020 going to look like?
See, I think they have a bigger problem than that, because what they need to really figure out is how to replace Left Shark.
There's always Left Shark. Was that last year? No, that was that.
Yeah, no, that was last year. It was Katy Perry.
It feels so old now.
I know.
Yeah. Well, good. Come on, HoloLens. We're rooting for you. It's plucky.
I think this stuff looks cool. I mean, if you've used HoloLens, you sort of realize everything they just showed is not really possible. But it is certainly aspirational. And as someone who listen, the NFL could use this kind of a jump start. So it's certainly very interesting.
You know, I'm in a better position than you, because never having used HoloLens, it could be anything I want it to be.
Yeah. Yep, it's the holodeck from Star Trek.
I can imagine it any way I want.
So, by the way, the Seattle Seahawks just tweeted something about this video, and they referred to it as mixed reality.
Oh.
You know, as opposed to augmented
some people
reality.
call
that might be a better
HoloLens
phrase.
Mixed reality.
Yeah, I think that is a better phrase.
Because augmented.
Augmented suggests you're making reality, you know, like you're pumping it up kind of or whatever. This is really mixing virtual with
real and virtual. It's a much more sesquipedalian choice of verbiage.
Yikes.
Wow.
Well, I'll take your trajectory and raise it to the 10th
People
power.
don't like those $5 words. They want to go with something simpler.
You know, podcast is free, Leo. It's that's good.
So, boy, it didn't take long for my Kangaroo PC to become obsolete. I'm a little bummed about that. I love this thing.
Actually, you'll enjoy this, Leo, because I know you have one. So you've seen
I'm holding it right now. Yeah.
The old Kangaroo PC, and so now behold the new one. Exactly.
Oh, you already got it. Wow, you wasted no time.
So it's exactly the same case. I'm not sure why I didn't anticipate that, but that makes sense.
Think of it this way: you now have two dogs.
Yeah, that's true. I do.
At only $189.
What I don't have is a version of Windows to put on here, so I got to figure that out. But yeah, I think I'm going to test this as a living room PC. I think.
You mean like a home
for
theater?
streaming services? Well, yeah, Roku, Netflix, etc. So, or Netflix.
So don't
Hulu.
put Windows on it. Put Myth TV on it or something like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of look into that. But I think 4 gigs kind of puts it up the top.
Yeah, Linux Mint is awesome, by the way.
Linux Mint, Paul.
It's fabulous.
I was looking at Linux Mint today.
It's actually
minty. It's minty fresh.
Well, the interesting thing is that they could say, okay, we're going to ship this Kangaroo PC without an OS. That they don't have to say put Linux on it, but because Linux has now progressed to the point where you could probably, without any effort, just put Linux on it, and all the drivers would work, all the stuff would work. And that's a huge shift, because Linux used to be, you know, I remember running X-Free86 to try to figure out how to get a monitor to work.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, you go through all, I mean, it used to be really hard.
that whatever the it wasn't ini, but whatever the file was. And then it didn't work and you couldn't boot your computer.
Yeah, those were many times.
It's good stuff.
So, but we've come a long way, baby. Linux Mint just installs on hardware, very diverse hardware.
I mean, I'm still not going to use Linux Mint, but yes.
Yeah. Have you used it, Mary Jo?
I have not. Nope.
Yeah. It's
what do you think? Do you think it's easy enough for normal people?
Yes. Finally. Yes. And yeah, no, I think so. It's gotten really to the point where the trick was always these little incompatibilities and dependencies and drivers that didn't work. They pretty much licked that. Yeah. And Mint comes with what effectively looks like a store. It's an app that's right there in the toolbar, and it's software. And if you want to install something, you click a button.
Yeah. Just
like in the Windows Store.
Well, like I don't remember the terms, like the Red Hat repository or the different weird kind of goofy ways you would install software.
All that stuff's still behind there, you know, apt-get and all that stuff. It's all still there. But and occasionally, if you use a web, you know, if you like search the web to install stuff, like if you say I want to install Google Chrome, and you go and they say, well, do you want the .deb or the .rpm version? Is it 32 or 64? And that would throw some people.
Yeah.
But this store eliminates a lot of that. You don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
I think they've done a marvelous job. It's very Windows-like, really. It's even got a start menu.
I remember going to an OSCON show a few years ago and went into the press room and all the PCs were running Linux. And I just was like, oh, yikes.
It's OSCON, baby.
Run. I know. It made sense, but I was like, I have no idea how to even begin here.
Well,
I'm just curious, like, why they bothered on this one, or why they wouldn't release a version with Windows. In other words, $20 more, $25 more.
You're right.
I think it would have been.
You're right. Maybe they should have.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do that. And of course, this device also has some Windows-specific stuff going on, right? Like the Windows Hello compatible fingerprint reader.
Yeah, and I don't know if there is a if Mint or if there's a software for that. I bet you there is, and if there isn't already, people are working on it.
Yeah.
But boy, this I tell you, this feels and this is Linux Mint. I mean, and if I didn't tell you, you might say, oh, that's an interesting. Your start menu you got there. Where's the where's the Windows logo? Where are the tiles? I need more tiles.
Looks like one of those. What was that Stardock thing? The Object Desktop.
Yeah, it looks like a skin. And I guess it is in a way, but really I feel like they've and it's more secure, more. I know this is a Windows show. I'm not trying to pitch you on Mint, but I'm just saying the reason that now see, this is the store, by the way. They call it the Software Manager. Featured all packages, internet, sound and video, accessories, games. You hit games, and there's a bunch of games, and they even these are. Oh, let's look at the board games, and if you want to install something. Now it's still a little geeky. Like this is not chess; it's Pi chess because it's written in Python. But if you want to install it, it's a one click away. It's still not, and so I feel like that's what makes this interesting. I'm not sure why Infocus didn't put an operating system on here, but I think it's so they can keep the price. They added 4 gigs of RAM, not 2. They doubled the RAM.
Yeah, double the storage.
Double the storage, 64 gigs.
The rest of it, I believe,
processor,
is exactly the same.
Still kind
the
of
processor, the
Atom
ports.
Processor.
Yeah.
But I think so, and they only increased the price $89. So that's why they took out Windows. That saved about $10, $15.
It seems like Windows could have been in there for that price, but
could have even been free. On that size, right? Isn't Microsoft
doesn't have a screen?
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, so I wonder if it isn't the RAM and the storage which puts it over the top for getting Windows for free or next to nothing. That maybe the price goes up at a certain point. Because 4 gigs of RAM, you're talking about a real computer. 2 gigs of RAM, it's kind of like a kid's toy. Basic computer. I don't know. I won't find it. I don't know that I'll find out.
That's the problem. If you have to buy a copy, it's like $100 more or more, right?
Right. And my thing is, even if they had to pay a little bit more for it, it still would have been $50 or $40 or some amount less than I will have to pay if I buy Windows 10 Home wherever I buy it. Yeah. So, look, I'm going to buy Windows. They told me Windows 10 was free. It was a lie.
Yeah.
Lie.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? How are people going to react now when they're asked for money?
By the way, I've said this kind of thing before and been wrong every single time when they do like a freebie offer, a low cost offer. I cannot imagine a future where they start charging for Windows again. Like I just can't imagine them going back.
Somebody in the chat room is saying that because it's 4 gigs of RAM, it does not qualify.
It puts it over the top. Yeah. I think that's
displayless, so that doesn't. But it's 4 gigs. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It turns it into a.
You'd have to buy like what do they call Windows Embedded now? Windows 10 IoT or whatever.
IoT. Oh.
No, you wouldn't buy that.
No.
Well, you don't have to buy it.
No.
Is there an x86 version of IoT? I guess it would be. Let's look it up.
But no, that's not probably
there
not
is,
what you would get.
Isn't no
Windows 10 Industry is what I'm thinking of.
Is that? How cheap is that? I mean, you mean an OEM version?
Yeah.
They don't have an OEM anymore?
But I think the cheapest OEM version of Windows 10 is probably $90. It's going to be something like that. It's not insignificant.
Yeah. It's compared to the cost of the computer, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so there's no IoT. No, IoT is Raspberry Pi 2, Minnow board, and Dragon board.
That's ARM.
No, I think it's Windows 10 Industry, which is the one. Again, it's an embedded SKU, though. I'm not sure that's the right one. I mean, what do system builders get now for Windows 10? if you're building your own PC.
Well, no, you get Home or Pro. I mean,
so I guess that's what you'd have to buy, right?
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying. It's $90.
Copy protection now so good that this is an issue. You can't. I mean, seriously.
Well, I think so. I mean, I guess what I'll tell you is I'm not going to pirate Windows 10. So I mean, yeah.
Good. Don't do it.
Well, no, I know it's wrong and unethical, et cetera. But for years, if you had a copy of Windows, it wasn't such a big deal. You know, you get this $189 computer. I got a copy. But I think I really don't think that that's practical anymore, unless you really know what you're doing.
Well, that's my point. I don't think it's practical. Period. I don't understand how anyone could. I just don't understand why they're charging for this thing. Yeah, $99.
How much for an OEM to put Windows 10 on this?
I think you have to just buy the regular Windows 10 Home or Pro, right?
There's no OEM price.
He means no,
not the user.
OEM.
You're a system builder.
If you're in Focus,
sorry.
how much?
Sorry. Yeah.
In Focus, I bet it's somewhere between $25 and $40. I don't really think it's that much money. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't quite understand why this is so much. You know. If you were to just download the ISO version of Windows 10 for free and install it, you wouldn't be able to activate it. You could probably you could obviously activate it electronically. I'm sure from that interface, the price is going to be $99. You know, that's not. Yeah. It's not cheap.
No. OEM Windows is $170 on Newegg, I'm told, by Guy Smiley in our chat room.
That must be Pro, though. Windows 10 Home 64-bit OEM right now is $99.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think when I checked the other day, it was only $90, so I just lost $10.
To be honest with you, I'm tempted to buy this, and I wouldn't even. I purchased a license of Windows 10 for VM, so I could run it on my Mac. And of course, I have it running on some machines that just upgraded. Yeah. But I would probably not buy a copy of Windows 10 on this in Focus. I just put Mint on it. Especially if you're turning it into a home theater. I know, Paul, but if you're turning it into a home theater PC.
No, I just tasted blood in my mouth when you said that.
I know. There are Linux distributions like Myth TV that are free downloads that would be, because there's no Windows Media Center, you don't have much choice. Right?
Yeah. Actually, honestly, the thing that would put this over the top, and there are probably people out there that know something about this, would be the ability, and this could be Windows or anything, would be the ability to interact with this with a remote control. You know, because I've thought about getting, you can, Microsoft, Logitech, they make these media keyboards that have a built-in trackpad. They're Bluetooth based. You can it's kind of an awkward way to interact with TV, Well, it would work, obviously.
Yeah, Bluetooth would do it. You want me to try this and get back to you? Or you got one. You try it and get back to me.
Yeah.
Because I like this idea.
Yeah. I'm interested in it. I'll do something with it.
Anyway,
I'll figure out a way to get Media Center running in Windows 10 again, and then let's do that. Because that worked great.
You know what's
really irritating.
The big argument against Linux and the argument for Windows 10 on this particular device is that really cool software that lets me use an iPad.
Yeah, the iPad
as a screen.
Yeah. And Windows Hello login too.
Again, it's a fingerprint reader. I think probably there's software.
Oh, you think that's really okay?
Yeah, I don't think that's proprietary. But that's a good question too. Be a fun hack.
Right.
I wouldn't. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't rush out and buy this, and I'll tell you why. PCs are cheap.
Yeah.
$35 for a Raspberry Pi 2, which is essentially a full-bore computer.
Yes.
There's a $6 PC coming out.
Well, by the way. Yeah. So why would you do something like this instead of like a Roku or whatever, right? I think the one thing that you can say about a PC that's not true of any device you'd put in the living room is that everything works on it. You could have iTunes and Google Play and Netflix and Hulu and Microsoft stuff is all there. Like, it would all work. It's just that the interface is a little gunky because you're using a personal computer UI of some kind. And so I think the trick would be, it's almost like you need this UI that comes up on top of Windows, a media center, for lack of a better term, that you could interact with a remote. And,
I've been setting up a Minecraft server for my kid. Actually, it started as a Raspberry Pi project, and I said, well, this isn't enough power. So I happened to have a Mac Pro that I wasn't using. It was a good doorstop, but I can find a brick would probably do as well. So That trash can Mac is now hooked up to my TV. It has HDMI.
Yep.
I use my curved screen OLED TV as its screen, a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. And as long, I mean, it's running Minecraft, but it's got enough horsepower. I can also watch. You're exactly right, Paul. Everything works. It's you know, it's your home theater, and it works great.
Someone's recommending Plex, which actually I did look at last year.
So put Plex on Windows, and you're good. You're good.
Yeah, maybe I will do that. I'll figure it out.
But you nailed it with the reason you put a PC on your TV is everything works.
It's not to add complexity. It's because it does everything.
Works.
Yeah.
Netflix works. Amazon works.
It's the only thing.
Works.
There is no other thing where everything
and because
works.
I'm using a Mac, iTunes works.
Yeah.
Kodi is another good one. That's XBMC rebranded.
Yeah.
Media Portal, somebody's saying, is the closest thing to Windows Media Center. I got an email from somebody saying, why do you and Paul keep saying Windows Media Center is gone? Here's a screenshot. I said, that's Windows Media Player. There's a difference.
Oh, okay. It's not gone as long as I'm using it.
And, of course, the TV guide data is the issue for a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in this case, I'm talking about this would be everything but TV. So it's I'm not going to bother with that. I mean, what I mean is a set-top box type thing. You know, all of the online services imaginable. Because I have stuff in Microsoft, I have stuff in Google, I have stuff in iTunes. We have Netflix. You know, YouTube is a thing. I mean, it'd be nice to have one media center for
you keep coming back to this.
Yeah, it just seems like the type of thing that would make sense. I don't know.
Yeah,
not a marketer. Oh well.
A Windows 10 mobile build. What does that mean? I see that in the notes here.
What does that mean?
Yeah,
I actually don't know what this. Do you even know what this was?
Yeah, I kind of know what it was.
Well, okay, but. I mean, but
I know, and why it was numbered the way it was.
Blah, blah, blah. Like what? Do you know?
So my belief on this. So Microsoft put out a new Windows 10 mobile preview build this week, 10586.71. It's a cumulative update for Windows Mobile. All bug fixes, basically. Bug fixes, performance, reliability improvements. So right before this, they had said they were going to a whole different numbering scheme for Windows 10 Mobile because they wanted to sync that up and have desktop and mobile have the same build numbers. But this doesn't have the new build number. So I think the reason is, I believe, is this is a cumulative update to the November build of Windows 10 Mobile. You know, the thing that we call threshold to the November update, whatever you want to call it, 1511.
Okay.
That's why I think it has that number.
But okay. All right. So presumably there will be a slowing release of this, and then it will be released to the general public.
Right.
And maybe this will be the one they base the public, upgrade version on. Okay. Is that what you're saying? Okay. So
my belief.
Separately from this is a 14,000 build number error, level fork or whatever of the system that represents the Redstone.
Right. And you have to already have a Windows 10 mobile phone to get that 1400 build. Like you couldn't, you have to have Windows 10 mobile on your phone.
So one that came with it originally.
Right. Originally.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yep,
okay.
I believe. Yeah.
So if I with a
was
Lumia
joking
950,
with Paul. I mean, he's like, "What's up with the 0.71?" And he's like, "Maybe it means it's taken them 71 tries to finally get this thing right." Yeah.
I actually think that's what it is. I really do.
Oh, man.
Because they haven't incremented the major build number since 1511. They've incremented it 71 times. That's what that means. I think this is their 71st attempt at getting it right. I know that sounds cynical, but I think that's what it is.
No, there's a lot. There have been other cumulative updates in the interim, right? Like 0.36 or whatever, 0.6 something.
Yeah.
Like we've seen others.
Right. That was the 36th attempt.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
59th attempt or whatever. And I don't know. I think so.
They do daily builds too and stuff. I mean, you can't say that.
They do. Right.
Yeah.
Well, right. But remember, the plan originally was that sometime in the fall, they were going to kind of, finalize Windows 10 Mobile, just like they did back in July for Windows 10 for PCs, and that they would then give it out to device makers. They would give it out to upgraders. And they released like a really, I mean, they had to put the, Lumia had to ship eventually. So they released it with a kind of an unfinished version. And I think they've been incrementing it ever since.
Yeah.
And I really do think they've taken 71 tries. I think it's been 71 tries.
I guess technically you are correct.
I think so. I'll get it right. Those plucky guys.
One of these days.
There will be more.
Listen, before we get to the next segment, I just need time to boot up my Xbox. Could you?
I can whip through these.
It's Enterprise time.
I can whip through these.
For Paul, that means more Call of Duty.
I'll prestige while you're doing this.
Yes. No, these are all. This first one, Paul, you might care about. Do you? Yammer? No. Yes.
Nope. I saw this story. I thought, I'll have Office 365. Maybe I'll just turn in, play with it and see what happens.
Yeah. Right.
What is it?
Facebook's about to have their big bang launch of Facebook at Work. So we kind of thought Microsoft was moving away from Yammer, which they bought a couple of years ago. That's their enterprise social networking product. They've been kind of taking features out of Yammer and integrating them right into Office 365. But it turns out, no, they are going to continue to push Yammer as a standalone service. In fact, if you have any Office 365 business account and you have Yammer licensing as part of that, like you've bought the Yammer license, it's going to be on by default starting now. So before it was like not on by default. Administrators had to set you up as a Yammer customer. Now it's going to be on by default. Why are they doing this? Because Microsoft is like, hey, you know what? We have this enterprise social networking thing. We should try to get people to use it.
Right.
And they haven't really
will
been
IT
pushing
guys
it.
be pissed about that? I mean,
you can undo it. There's a way to de-provision the customers from Yammer. But yeah, I'm curious how people are going to feel about this.
Provisioning by default, not
Is a big
necessarily.
deal.
Yeah, not what you want.
Yeah. Kind of feels like Windows 10 delivered as a recommended update. Yeah.
I'm okay.
But yeah,
Good point.
Microsoft has been doing some things under the covers with Yammer. They've integrated it with Azure Active Directory. They're integrating it now with Office 365 groups. So the idea they have is once they have Yammer be an integrated part of the whole Office 365 suite, they're hoping you'll do things across the suite, like say hook up Yammer to Skype, right? Or have your Outlook calendar work directly with Yammer. And it's the whole idea is get people hooked into one service and start using these services across the suite.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Yeah. But they're doing it because of the growth of Facebook for Work and Slack.
And Slack,
as well.
I think, yeah.
Yep.
Do you get the sense people are using Facebook for work?
I don't think it's truly launched yet. Like they've talked about it. I don't know if it's widely
It's a preemptive
available
strike.
yet.
I get it.
Right. Preemptive strike. Yeah.
I mean, do you ever really see Facebook being a thing at work? I mean,
I don't know.
It seems
lot of
like
people
Facebook is
poo-poo
the
it.
anti-work.
I know. Yeah.
You know?
I know. Yeah.
Now, I, as a Office 365 home user, I'm not going to get Yammer. That's what I was kind of hoping.
You are not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And who would I Yammer with anyway?
Right.
The
Right.
dog.
You have. I mean, you could have your own little Yammer group, but Yammer seems to be something that makes more sense when you have a bigger
Yeah, it's for enterprise.
group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's for
yes.
enterprises.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
All of this vaguely office graph type stuff, Delve, and whatever works better when you have an organization. And it's the point of it. It can't.
You guys work at home. Are you at a little bit of a disadvantage with things like Yammer? I mean, it's hard for you to experience it.
I know.
Yeah.
We don't use it.
Enterprise, right?
So
No.
when
Even at
Microsoft,
ZDNet, we don't use that. No.
Yeah. When Microsoft launched Office Graph and Delve last year, they provided a test environment that had actual Microsoft employees in it, so that you could kind of
that's right.
experience, what that was like. Because, I mean, we don't really have those capabilities at home.
And I had thought, at least when it won TechCrunch before Microsoft bought it, that Yammer was really more like a Twitter. But it's now more like a Facebook, right? And I can't tell, but I'm just looking at the pictures on the Yammer.com site, and it looks like they've got a news feed, and they've got. I mean, it's kind of more like a Facebooky thing.
Definitely more like a Facebook. Yeah.
Could it be a full intranet?
Meaning, use it
The
for
full.
something
Do it all
beyond
the
just
things you
content.
might do with an intranet, or is it just it's a social component? You use SharePoint to share files, and you use
Yeah, you
Outlook.
can. That's where they're going for sure. Like hooking it into SharePoint, hooking it into Outlook, hooking it into Skype for business. So that's the direction.
Yeah. Well, they say 200,000 companies use it. Shell, DHL, 7-Eleven.
And Microsoft itself is the biggest, probably, of the user.
Well, that's good. If they weren't using it,
they
I'd
use
worry.
it inside.
Use Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a weird thing
because
because I can't try it, so
Right.
I can't really talk about it.
I mean, I bet Alex and Russell could hook you up for your own little Yammer group if you wanted to try it there.
Yeah, I'm sure we have enterprise licenses, and we can just do that. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You could have a Twit Yammer channel.
Yeah, we use HipChat.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's worked well for us. There is a lot to be said for this kind of thing. We also use Slack with some outside purveyors. I love Slack. If I could just use Slack every day, I would. But I'd
a lot of people keep asking, why doesn't Microsoft just buy Slack? Like, instead of trying to do this Yammer thing. And from what I've heard, Slack, they want a lot of money for the company.
Oh, I bet they do. I bet they do. It's one of them.
I don't know
they're
if
unicorns.
Microsoft wants to pay. Yeah.
Slack ain't cheap.
Nope.
What's Yahoo's anti-prize play? Do we know anything about that?
Well, you can make a Tumblr. And
Yep.
do they still run Yahoo Messenger? I bet they do. I bet there's still servers.
Probably.
I think they do.
Wait a minute. Let me. Wait a minute. The new Yahoo Messenger allows you to share photos instantly, send GIFs or GIFs, and even unsend messages. I need a message network that'll do that. Anthony Weiner should have used this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That technology was his problem.
Unsend. Unsend. Sorry, you can't unsend something you sent 3 months ago.
No.
So there's even an app. I wonder who uses that. Oh, Delphi Preacher in the chat room uses it.
Oh.
My kind of guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean from Greece? No, that's no good.
Did you guys watch Grease? No, I know you didn't, Mary Jo.
I did not.
You're not. You're living in the 18th century. But Paul, did you watch Grease?
No, I did not.
You're living in the 21st century, so.
Yeah, yeah. I watched The River on Netflix, or just River, or whatever it's called.
What's that?
It's a great British crime series.
Oh, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, it's really good.
River.
River. I think it's just called River.
Oh, here's a website, everything.yahoo.com.
Was it like this page intentionally left blank?
Everything from A to Z that Yahoo does. That's cool.
Oh, that's a real site.
Yeah. Yeah. All of Yahoo in one kind of fairly short list, actually.
Yeah, it kind of just takes up half the page.
It doesn't.
By the way, I just want to point out one of the major items is dating.
Yeah. There's a lot of white space.
Are you serious? Oh, wait.
Dating.
What?
It is.
Does Yahoo
dating.
own Match.com?
Really?
Or is that just, what?
What?
Or is that just...
Oh, maybe this is an old Yahoo directory. What
It's
did
like
I get?
yahoo.match.com.
I pressed dating and I got view photos of singles in Petaluma.
Yahoo.com/food.
Those are just
God.
channels for them, right?
Who uses
Talk about
this
the
stuff?
ultimate rat hole. I'm sorry. It is.
Yahoo Music. That used to be a thing. They used to have a music
Really?
service. Yeah. Yep.
All right, guys, do you want to hear the rest of the
Oh, I'm
Yes, I'm
sorry.
Come on. Here we go
Yeah,
on
I'm sorry,
Match.com.
that was-
Let's
yeah,
talk about
that was-
something better.
I'm so
Seriously,
sorry,
we gotta
Mary
send
Jo.
her we gotta send her a gift
How
now.
about
That was
Azure
terrible.
Stack? Come on. What would you rather
Sorry.
talk about?
Azure Stack, please.
You're right. Sorry.
I'll give you a quick thing on Azure Stack here. So I talked about it on last week's show. Microsoft has this hybrid cloud platform that they call Azure Stack, which lets people run many of the Azure services right in their own data centers instead of having to use Microsoft's cloud. So the bits for the technical preview 1 of Azure Stack are available as of last Friday. So anybody can go and test this out now. The problem is it's not something you would test out at home. You need a very large server with great disk capacity, and you need to have Windows Server 2016 Data Center Edition tech preview to run this. But if you have all of those things and you want to test out where Microsoft's going with Azure Stack, you can get the bits now. So that's one item. And then I have a really good licensing item. Want to hear it? You do.
Yes. It's the right answer, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Microsoft is changing, for people who are under the enterprise agreement at Microsoft, which is a volume licensing agreement for the company, Microsoft is changing the user and device minimums for that. So before, if you had 250 users or devices, you could sign up for an enterprise agreement with Microsoft. But as of July 1, if you're a new customer, you have to have 500. So what Microsoft's doing is they're trying to get people to use other licenses. They have a license called the Microsoft Product and Services Agreement, and they have another one called Cloud Solution Provider. The goal is to get you on one of those two things. And what are they doing? You know how we always talk about one everything, one Windows, one this, one that? They're trying to drive towards one volume licensing approach. It's not going to happen overnight, but they're going that way. So if you are a Microsoft customer who has enterprise agreements, you should check out my blog post about what's going on with EA. See, that wasn't so painful, you guys. Got through all the enterprise. Boom, boom, boom.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, not thank you that you're fast, but just thank you for doing it.
But you're going to have enterprise picks and stuff still, right?
There's only one quick enterprise pick. That's later. That's the back of the book.
It's like being forced to eat vegetables before you can have dessert.
You know what? Now you guys know how I feel when we do a lot of Xbox.
Yeah, no, I understand. But it does raise this issue, and one of the reasons I don't cover enterprise is because I don't work in an enterprise, and so I have no way of kind of experiencing it or
You know what's funny though? I get mail. I'm not making this up. I get mail and tweets from people who say, "I wish there was more enterprise content on Windows Weekly."
No, and I'm with you. Do as much as you want. I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, I know. I know what you mean. I don't work in the enterprise either, but people.
Oh no.
Paul, it would just give you more time to play Call of Duty while I was doing enterprise.
We do have an enterprise show this week.
I know.
Tech. Although I have to say, they delve into consumer more than we delve into enterprise. You know what I'm saying?
Do they really?
Well, it's hard not to. That's where the most stuff's going fastest. I don't want to say the most interesting because it's equally interesting if you're in the
one way to say it.
But you know what? It's such a blended world now. People do work at home, and people do home things at work. So.
Absolutely.
The consumerization of IT is like the cloud. Like you can fear it, you can hate it, you can say it's never going to happen, and I get bad news for you. It's already happened.
It started when we all put routers in our house.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I used to get calls on the radio show. What's a switch? What's a router? What is this? And I'd explain, all of this technology comes from business. We had dedicated professionals running it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Microsoft got into device management because a lot of its enterprise customers were literally putting super glue into USB ports so that people couldn't attach devices to their computers.
Right. I remember that. Remember that.
Yeah. Incredible.
Let's take a break. Then we will get to the back of the book. And there is light at the end of the tunnel, or beer in this case, at the end of the tunnel. And we're headed straight that way. But first, a word, if you will, from our good friends at Squarespace. I'm a Squarespace fan. I'm a newborn Squarespace fan. It's funny. I mean, we've done ads for Squarespace forever. We've used Squarespace for the company, our Inside Twit blog and so forth. But I played with it. I made some private sites, but I never moved my big blog, leoville.com, to Squarespace, and I'm kicking myself. You know what finally pushed me over the top? When I realized I was spending more time updating my blog software than I was actually putting content on the blog. Like every week there was a security update. And it's like, ay, ay, ay. Squarespace, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's the hosting plus the software, plus they keep it all secure and up to date. It's super secure and it's super fast. The software is so tightly integrated with the serving stuff that it just really works. You cannot bring a Squarespace site down. I don't know what their uptime number is, but as far as I'm concerned, I've never seen a Squarespace site go down no matter how hard we hammer it. And we hammer sites. Squarespace is so good. You can create a beautiful blog or a portfolio. If you're a restaurant, put your menus up there and hours and lovely pictures of your... It looks like you want it to look. But the beauty part is you don't have to be a web designer. You have to pay for an expensive developer, an engineer, because it's all handled by them. They do the hard stuff. Their templates are state-of-the-art web design and engineering. I mean, the best you can get. And they give that to you. That's it. You start with that, and then you have anything you want. You can change it all. You make it look the way you want it to look. And if you're a developer, by the way, they have a developer platform that lets you get even deeper with JavaScript and CSS and everything. It's just fantastic. And by the way, e-commerce is built into every Squarespace page. And they do e-commerce right. It's the only platform that lets you make your store look the way you want it to. It's not some shopping cart, some funky... it's not like going from Call of Duty to Minecraft. You're not suddenly, going to this shopping cart. It's all part of the overall website. It's integrated in. And security, number one, you can sell unlimited products with no transaction fees. Number two, they have a dashboard that lets you manage your business's workflow and do customer service in the Squarespace workflow. You can process orders, send shipment notifications. They integrate in with various shipping tools. You can handle refunds in seconds. The new Squarespace Commerce app, this is brand new, is so awesome. On iOS or Android, you can fulfill orders, manage product inventory, resolve customer issues directly on the app. On the move. Power your business with Squarespace Commerce, the only platform that lets you create, manage, and brand your store in a beautiful way. They've got a basic plan. It's very affordable, and an advanced plan with lots of features. And by the way, when you subscribe for a year, you get the annual purchase. You get the domain name free. Your site's going to look like it's designed by a professional and engineered by a pro. And you know what? Because it is. And, of course, if you want to get geeky, you get as geeky as you can with it. Great 24/7 customer support. Mobile is built in. The designs work great on every size screen, including mobile optimized checkout. So you don't have to do a separate mobile site or separate mobile app to get mobile purchases. I could just go on and on. Why don't you try it? It's free to try it. Squarespace.com. If you do decide to sign up, and you will, because it's the best, and I know people have many Squarespace sites now, use the promo code WINDOWS and you'll get 10% off, and of course, show your support for Paul and Mary Jo and Windows Weekly. Squarespace.com. Don't forget the offer code, but you can try it for free. The offer code is WINDOWS, 10% off. Squarespace. 2 words. You should. I wish I had sooner. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. Let's start with you, Paul, and your pick of the week, or your tip, I should say.
Yeah, so the tip of the week, this actually comes from Brad. He wrote this one up. But if you're running the Windows Insider version of Windows 10, so if you're up on the latest build, they've been improving Cortana. And what they do now in the Cortana window that pops up is they give you the ability to filter the results by app, settings, files, or web, which is, if you think about it, sort of the way the Windows 8 used to work all those many years ago. 3 years ago. And for power users, you can actually just start a search off and use any of those words. So you can say like apps : and then whatever the search term is, and you'll only see those results. And so there, you can see there are many ways in which Cortana is improving it, and a lot of them are kind of interesting. This one's kind of I almost said bare bones. It's kind of basic in a way, but it's Windows search functionality that's been around for a long time, but isn't in Windows 10. So it is coming soon to a Windows near you. And just a quick reminder that it's the beginning of the month, so Games for Gold has reset. We've got new games for the month. There's 2 new games for Xbox One and 2 new games for Xbox 360. And I think it's the second half of the month is when it's Gears of War 2. And that's all the Xbox 360 games are backwards compatible now, so they'll work on Xbox One as well. They got a bunch of mobile and PC picks. Microsoft bought SwiftKey this week. SwiftKey is a software keyboard for iOS and Android.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I've obviously heard of it, but I never used it. And I have to say, in using rival mobile platforms over the past few months, one of the things I've been really irritated by on iOS is the built-in virtual keyboard. It's so terrible, and the autocomplete is terrible. And I just installed the SwiftKey today because Microsoft bought them, and sure enough, like it's a million times better. So the app itself is free. They charge you they have keyboard skins if you want to do that kind of thing. Microsoft over time is going to integrate SwiftKey with their own WordFlow keyboard technology, which you see in Windows phones, you see in Windows PCs. And so we'll see how that plays out over the course of the year, but something to check out if you haven't. And most people already know about this, but it's SwiftKey's awesome. I never even looked at it for whatever reason. On the PC side, through the Windows Store last week, we saw the release of the first ever AAA title in the Windows Store, Rise of the Tomb Raider. You can buy it from Steam. You can get it, I think, at retail as well. You can get it in other places. But this is the first universal app version of a blockbuster game sold through the Windows Store. It's expensive. It's like, $60 normally. It's humongous. I don't have the thing right in front of me, but I think it's 26 gigabytes, if I'm not mistaken. It's a big, big game. I've been playing it on the Surface Book, actually, although I tested it on Surface Pro 4 as well. It's obviously, it's a modern game. If you have a 4K capable computer, this thing will do 4K. And so you can really play with the settings and make it run, how you want it to. But it actually works really, really well on Surface Book. And I've been doing it with the, with the Xbox One controller. It's pretty cool. Oh, there's actually another mobile pick, but I'm going to let Mary Jo do this because she is the one who found out about it.
Yeah, so this is a new app from Microsoft Garage, which is the incubator that Microsoft has. They're building something called Plumbago, Plumbago, which is a flowering plant, by the way.
It is? It's not a form of lumbago? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
No. But if you look at the
Paul would call it P lumbago.
P lumbago, like P interest.
Yep.
This thing, it's kind of like a combination of OneNote and I don't know what else I would say. It has a radial menu. It's for drawing, doodling. It has like a painter's palette. I don't know where they're really going with this. Some people said, "Hey, it looks like Courier," which is interesting. But it's just a garage app at this point. So it's meant for people who want to try something out. It's a note-taking app. It's a drawing app. It's a doodling app. It's kind of all of these things pulled together. We don't know which platforms it'll be on first.
Does sound like Courier, doesn't it?
It does, right?
Wow.
Yeah. Walking Cat, our buddy, is the one who found the link to this. And then people...
So it's not out yet. I can't.
Not out yet. Microsoft Research is involved in this one, too. So I don't know when or if it will come out, but I would think it would be something that would make a lot of sense on the Surface because of the pen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plumbago. Plumbago.
Well, it would be perfect for my my Surface. Yeah.
Yep.
I still hear from people occasionally who miss the radial menu from OneNote.
I know. Me too. Yep.
So there it is. It's still there.
It's back. But it's not out. You just have to keep your eye peeled for it.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah. Coming soon.
By the way, Paul, I don't know if you know about this. The chat room just mentioned there's a Kickstarter going on for a Battalion 1944, a kind of Call of Duty 2 style World War II game. World War II weapons.
I did not know that.
And it looks pretty damn awesome. Battalion 1944. And you can get in for $19. I pledged £15, but looks like classic action.
You got to be careful when you search for stuff because there's also something called Battalion to My Beat. It's a coming-of-age story about a spirited Sahawari girl facing crossroads.
Give them some money,
I was expecting some kind of a shooter, and this is not what that is.
let's give them some money. It's pretty good looking game. It's very old fashioned. They said there hasn't been a good 1944 World War II shooter in a while.
That's for sure.
And everybody should get SwiftKey. I just hope Microsoft doesn't screw it up and like.
Jeez.
No, it's like I'm telling you, I depend on it.
Yeah.
They say they're going to keep doing iOS and Android versions, right?
Right. And integrate it with WordFlow, right? So they're going to do.
Well, that's ironic because really WordFlow is based on Swipe, which SwiftKey stole from Swipe. So really, it's all the same, right? It's this
sounds like
thing,
a perfect Microsoft project. Really.
When WordFlow, you mean whether you're swiping instead of tapping, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you get all the other stuff in here? Or am I looking at last year? Oh, you got it all. Okay.
Yep.
Then that means it's time for Mary Jo Foley and her enterprise pick of the week.
Yes, my enterprise pick is also a licensing pick today. Microsoft talked last year about introducing a new kind of bring your own Windows Server license for software assurance customers. And it turns out they are introducing it as of February 1st. It's a new bring your own license option, Windows Server. It's also called Azure Hybrid Use, Hub, H-U-B. What Hub does is it lets you procure an Azure virtual machine without Windows Server and then later assign the Windows Server license to it. If you are somebody who has software assurance and you want to kind of know the ins and outs of this, there's a licensing company, I guess I would call them, called Licensing School Licensing School UK. And what they do is they go through all the new Microsoft product terms every time they come out. And other licensing companies and organizations do this too, but they do a really nice job. They go through it, they look what's changed, and they found that Microsoft had actually activated this as of February 1. Microsoft at that same time also said they were going to give us a way to run Windows 10 on Azure. And not just if you were a developer or a tester, but that seemingly is not yet out. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled for that licensing change too. So that's my enterprise pick.
Excellent. And your code name. Paul will like this one.
Yes. Both of us will because we're both from Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
The codename pick of the week is Natick, named for Natick, Massachusetts, right next to my hometown.
The site of a Microsoft store.
Yeah.
Wow.
Natick is a Microsoft research project where they took a tiny Azure data center, like an 8-foot pod, and they put it in the ocean. And they operated it for about 100 days. The reason they tried that was the biggest cost in running a data center is the cooling. So they're thinking, hey, what if we could put a data center underwater in an watertight container and run it underwater? Would that make sense?
Huh.
The pod itself was codenamed Leona Philpott, which I guess is Halo. Is that right?
I don't know.
A Halo reference?
Paul?
I thought that was...
Leona Philpott.
Isn't that what the pod itself was Leona
I thought
Philpott?
it was a different game. Is it a Halo?
Is it Halo?
Chat room?
Why don't I remember that?
Anyway, that's the pod. And so...
it's a video game. I know it's a video game name.
Again, this is an experiment. They tried it. It worked. Nothing got wet. Yeah. And so we don't know when or if this ultimately will be the way Microsoft runs more data centers, if they'll actually put them in the ocean. But they tried it. It worked. And they're calling it Project Natick.
Yes, Leona Philpott is in fact in Halo. She's the girl who went to the same high school as Rainey Sobek and Sarah John Pope. She broke her neck while diving into a pool.
Hey, there's the connection.
Leaving her recovering in a wheelchair during spinal column regeneration. Despite her, because of this, she became homecoming queen of her high school. Boy, that doesn't sound like the Halo I know. What are they talking about? Her homeworld is the Earth. She is in the USNC. All right, so yeah. She, I guess, that's very strange. It's very strange.
Yep.
But the diving into a pool obviously is the
It makes sense
connection
there.
there. Yeah. I think I don't know about you. I am ready for a long, tall, cool one. Maybe
You might only want one.
This may not be so
long,
cool.
Tall,
Holy
cool ones.
cow! Holy cow! Now I know why I'm hearing fire sirens.
Right, because I had this beer.
Wow.
The beer is called Bomb.
Bomb.
B-O-M-B! Exclamation point. And it's from Prairie Artisan Ales, which is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I've had a lot of imperial stouts this winter. Very high alcohol, some of them bourbon barrel. But this, I think, is the best one I have maybe ever had. It tastes like chocolate and vanilla, and it has just a speck of ancho chili in it. Not so much that it just burns your mouth, but just enough to give it some unusual taste that you're like, wow, that's so delicious. What is it? 13% though. So you probably just want to have
Holy cow. I didn't even know you could get beer that strong. Wow.
Yeah. It's so good though. When I had it, I was like, wow, unbelievable. It's delicious.
Awesome.
The Prairie Bomb. But I have a little bonus beer pick for people.
Bonus beer pick.
Yes, it's not a beer, but
in case that wasn't in high enough alcohol for you.
Right. This is not a beer. This is not a beer, but it's a pick for people who like beer. There's a website called Brew York, New York.
Brew York, Brew York.
And this guy, he does some amazing posts if you like beer. But he has a new one out, 6 beercations you could take in 2016.
Get it?
And he did a lot of personal research drinking these beers and going to these places.
Wow.
It's pretty cool though. Like if you're in Asheville or Charleston, he's got Seattle in here and Austin, and he lists a lot of different breweries in each place and tells you what's cool, what's interesting. So if you're somebody who likes to mix your beer and your vacations, you might want to check out his listing.
Brew York.
Brew York, New York.
Beer destinations. Yeah, I plan my vacations around consumption of beer.
Definitely. He starts it off. Let's take off for a beercation.
That's very funny. Hey, fun show, you guys. Thank you so much. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. They are the kings of Microsoft journalists. Mary Jo Foley, you'll find her on her ZDNet blog at allaboutmicrosoft.com. Paul Thurrott is at his website, thurrott.com. And again, thank you. Who was it that gave me these Field Guide posters?
Martin McLean.
Wow, these are nice.
Yeah, those are really nice.
Thank you, Martin. And these you can get as a premium if you buy the Field Guide to Windows.
Yep. Well, I mean, you get the files. I mean, you have to print them yourselves, but yes.
They're beautiful. And where do we get the Field Guide to Windows 10, Paul Thurrott?
Leanpub.com.
Leanpub.com. Sounds like a pub where they don't have onion rings.
Yeah, so it's all low-carb beers.
Or beer.
Yeah, or what we might call not beer.
Yeah,
lettuce beer.
Lettuce beer.
Beer finally extracted from lettuce.
Kale beer.
Kale beer. We do this show every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC on live.twit.tv or twit.tv/live, your choice. You can also get on-demand audio and video from the website, twit.tv/WW. It's also on YouTube. It's also on every podcatcher alive. Subscribe, and that way you won't miss an episode.
I got to run. I'm sorry. I hear something strange.
All right. Bye. See y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.